everyone, I am so happy to be back. I know it's been a minute since I made a video, but I just had breast augmentation surgery, so it's taken some time for me to just basically, heal and recover and just bounce back a little bit and make another video. But I know I've been posting a lot of stuff on my other social media. If you follow me there on TikTok and Instagram specifically, at Erica _ in the 2020s. But I've been posting a lot about Promising Young Woman, or me acting out scenes from the film. And the reason for that is not simply just because I enjoyed the film, because I really, truly did. It's also because the film absolutely resonates with me very, very deeply. As a trans woman, as a woman, because trans women are women, but also as a trans woman, just from my perspective. And I want to be able to provide that perspective because I think that's, not heard enough, in the feminist movement in general. And I think there's such an important need for intersectionality in feminism. So when I first started watching Promising Young Woman, well, actually, let me rewind. When I first saw the trailer for Promising Young Woman, I was immediately hooked. I was immediately intrigued. And for me to be intrigued by anything on in film and TV these days has been very difficult because I went out to LA to pursue acting, and this time around it did not work out, and I've been devastated for a long time over that. And so to be hooked in by anything these days is just like rare, unless it maybe is something I've watched before. But Promising a Woman, this was something brand new, and I was just like, what is this? I want to see this. This is like, immediately I felt like a connection with it. And the movie itself, when I finally saw it, after, sucking it up and paying the $19.99 rental, I was immediately hooked. It was, the trailer, was not misleading whatsoever. The movie was even better than a trailer, and that's always nice when, you have a trailer that's, not as good as the movie even itself, other than the opposite disappointment when the trailer makes it look super good and then it's not. Anyway, I totally digress. Point is, I just was immediately sucked into this film and enjoyed it from beginning to end and appreciated it. And I just want to, explain, not because just, oh, I enjoyed this film, it's my favorite movie ever, and give a review, but I want to talk about how I personally resonate with it as a transgender woman. And I will say, yes, Laverne Cox is there representing the trans community. Thank you, Laverne. You are the go-to in Hollywood, but it wasn't Laverne Cox's character that I resonated with the most. It was the main characters, Cassie Thomas, played by Carey Mulligan, who I connected with very deeply. Cassie Thomas, played by Carey Mulligan, is super broken down in this film, just devastated because she had a college experience, grad school experience, where her best friend of a lifetime was raped by a fellow grad student, and the friend ended up committing suicide because the school would not do anything about it, and they were making her out to be the culprit, victim blaming all the way. And for me, I connected with this because, like Cassie, I personally was not sexually assaulted in college, but I was put in unsafe housing when I transferred to my second college after being discriminated and harassed by peers at my first college. And when I transferred there, they didn't, there wasn't open housing or gender neutral housing at the time, so I was just placed with the complete, probably the biggest douchebag on that liberal arts, super liberal otherwise campus. And 6 weeks into the semester, the, lacrosse playing douchey roommate of mine, his girlfriend comes into the room totally drunk, completely out of her wits, and he just basically proceeds to have sex with her. And I think not once, but twice. And I just was so shocked. I kind of lied there. I was half afraid of this guy. I mean, he was big. He was like the biggest dude on campus, and I didn't know what he could potentially do, and so I just didn't do anything. Anyway, I'm totally going on a tangent here. The point of the matter is that, Cassie is a witness to something happening, and it affects her because her best friend was brutally gang raped at a party and then commits suicide. And for me, I was witnessing this happen, and I was also dealing with my own identity and not having a safe place to express myself. So I tried to go to the college, and once again, they did nothing. They made it out to be victim blaming, or that I needed to find a new place to live. And so, I think I have to ask myself, if that had not happened to me, would I have sort of kind of gone about my life aimlessly afterward, or would I have had a more solid head on my shoulders? Would that second college have been the safe place I needed to heal and go forward? Because I was getting there, but then that happened. And, with Cassie in the film, yeah, she's almost 30 years old, and she's living with her parents. And I'm currently almost 30, not too far from it myself, and I'm living with my parents at this point. Yes, I admit it, okay? You know, I'm one of those losers in their parents' basement, whatever. Anyway, I'm not, you know, I'm trying to make something of my life here. As Cassie, well, she was going about her life aimlessly, and I kind of understand that. I totally get it, and I totally get her anger and her frustration and the reason why she goes out to, you know, pretend to be drunk and let these guys take her home and try to take advantage of her. And then she comes to totally sober, and they're like, oh, shit. And it's like, it's so satisfying to see that, because it's just like, that is exactly the kind of thing I would want to do. And not even just from, you know, the standpoint of a cis woman, because I'm a trans woman, but just, you know, so it's not as much even just that, but also just the discrimination and harassment I dealt with from guys over the course of my school years, and just how there's that aspect as well. And that discrimination and harassment I faced, being called slurs and all of that, and, you know, destroying my psychological health and driving me to depend on alcohol, that was also toxic masculinity. So I just want to point that out. And, you know, so I totally get where Cassie was coming from on that. I mean, not that I think it's right that she put herself in danger by going home with those guys, because that in itself could put her in danger. What if, like, you know, she came to and they still, like, were like, oh, well, shit, we have to kill her. So, I mean, I totally, you know, want to acknowledge that in terms of the reality of life, in terms of, you know, movie versus reality. But in terms of just, you know, connecting with her, I really got it. I really got it. And I kind of, you know, feel that way. Like, she didn't have a career. She had the prospects of a career, and then it kind of went out the window. And that's kind of where I was. Like, I've had that, but for the past several years, like, I woke up a year or so ago and was just like, what am I doing with my life to some degree? Or it just hit me like how far behind I was, and like how much needed to be addressed. And it's kind of the same with Cassie, and you know, only unlike her, I am trying to address things, you know, and I mean, I think there were chances for her to do that. Like, when the guy comes into her life from grad school and they, you know, start to go out, and then, you know, twists and turns happen, and, well, anyway, I don't want to spoil it too much, but the point of the matter is, this film, you know, it doesn't have the happiest ending. And that is something that I want to address as well. So, you know what, I probably just am going to have to spoil it and put the spoiler alert in the title or the description of this video. But at the end, Cassie does die. She's murdered. And but what happens is that she actually has a scheduled send sent out to both one of the lawyers that was defending Al Monroe, the villain of the film, the guy who raped her best friend and caused her best friend to, you know, commit suicide. But anyway, she basically has the scheduled send of the tape that documents the rape, as well as a scheduled send to the romantic interest she has in the film, the guy that she went to grad school with, who comes back into her life one day. And so at the end, she does have the last laugh. But I guess what my point here is that, you know, we shouldn't have to die. I shouldn't have to die from suicide. She shouldn't have to die from murder or anything like that, just so that, you know, a point can be made. We shouldn't have to die just so a point can be made. And, you know, I mean, it's very interesting, you know, because I really, like, I've thought about that, where I, like, schedule a send to somebody, you know, in the case I don't make it. I've done that before, you know, and that was before I even saw the movie. So me and Emerald need to, like, grab coffee someday. I'm not kidding. Emerald's a writer and director, Emerald Fennell. But yeah, the point I'm making here is that Promising Young Woman is totally a feminist film to some degree. I mean, I think there's feminists that might argue it's not because of how it ends largely, but at the same time, I think the point is made, you know, and it's done in a very entertaining, you know, very engrossing sort of way. And, you know, there's just moments of the film that, like, it's like, yes, this is what I've wanted to hear for so long, like, where she is with Al Monroe before he proceeds to murder her, and, you know, she does end up having the last laugh. But before he proceeds to murder her, she basically, you know, talks about what happened with Nina, and he's like, I was a kid, and she's like, if I hear that one more time. And at that point, I paused the movie, and I told my mom about, like, how I called someone out on how they'd been mean to me, and they were like, I was just a kid. And I told them so was I. And I was like, Mom, that's what I said to that kid. And then I replayed the movie. It was just such an empowering moment, because I just, like, was like, shit, this is, like, totally something I can relate to and I need it. And the point of the matter, too, is that after so much time of not being able to find a movie I've been able to get into without just being triggered by the fact that I haven't made it in Hollywood, at this point at least, is, you know, enough to just be like, wow, this film, you know, I think it speaks to a lot of people. And as in, you know, one of the quick trailer videos, it says it's lit a match, and it has. And I think it's very important that those of us who have been marginalized, those of us who have been silenced, that we are not afraid to speak out and have a voice. And I think this film gives a voice. And you know, I have to say, I mean, it's important to not let the movie become my reality at the same time, but it has kind of helped me understand and get a perspective on myself and not feel like a total invalid being back with my parents at this point. Yeah. So I encourage you to check this movie out. I think it's great. It's one of the best films, and I know I've already spoiled a lot of it for you, but nevertheless, I think it's totally worth watching, even if you already know to some degree what was going to happen, because I accidentally spoiled it for myself, and I still was amazed by the film, you know. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, watching this, and supporting me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, whenever this is that you're watching.